Last night I was still putting the finishing touches on the lesson. I thought, and I come to that point, I thought, I need to turn this off and go to bed. Because my Sunday starts today. And whatever energy I have to give and give tomorrow, it begins right now because you start with rest. And so while that doesn't change something in our daily lives, I think it's a good click in our brain to say, my day tomorrow begins right now. With the rest I receive, the downtime that I have, so if I want tomorrow to go well, I begin it right now. Beginning the day in the evening. Let me give you 12 practical suggestions. I've already told you, we set it up last week. We spent most of this week telling you normal doesn't work. Because some of this is going to go, oh, maybe you can't do that, that's not realistic, you don't understand. I'm saying, okay, keep doing it normal then. But if you're ready for something weird, and I even took out some of the weirdest of the weirdest. 12 challenges. Number 1, begin the day with rest. Mentally understand the day begins the evening before. A practical part of that is go to bed earlier. That vacuum called the internet. You get on at 5, it's like this time warp. I understand. I'm just going to be on it for 10 minutes. And then 3 hours later, you still haven't finished chasing the rat trail where it goes. Turn it off. Television. Turn it off. Go to bed earlier. Just like children and babies need a routine. You don't bathe them every night because they got dirty. You bathe them because, that starts signaling relax and go to sleep and it's time. Develop a routine, develop a rhythm, traditions about going to bed. Increase the rest that you get. Number 2, take back time from the time thieves. Television, computer, phone. Now, what is it that's just stealing your time? In a moment, I'm going to show a video clip. It's going to ask you, what are you spending time? So it puts us in perspective for us. Number 3, eat dinner together. Oh, we're so busy, we got to do it. Well, maybe that's the problem. Work toward eating dinner together. I won't give you all the statistics, we don't have time. But when you start looking at families who eat dinner together, they protect that as much as possible. Sexual promiscuity goes down. Drug and alcohol abuse goes down. Stress, grades, and academic achievement goes up. There's something valuable about that slowing down and focusing on what's important then plays out into our daily lives. Number 4, trust God. Really, that's what rest was about, especially when we're talking about the Sabbath. Because it was very much, are you kidding me? There's grain to be harvested. We can't let it sit out in the field. Where God says, trust me. What, you don't think I'm going to take care of that if you're not obeying me and trusting? They even had rules for agriculture. Once every 7 years, they were to let the fields, don't plant in that field. Why? God invented dirt, and He understands how dirt works, and if you let it rest, and we pull nutrients out of it whenever we grow things, and it needs to rest, and if you let it rest, it's going to provide, we can't let it rest because we need to make money off that field, we need to provide crops out of that field, but it's very much, but if you let that happen, and now guess what? Agricultural scientists are letting us know, oh, you know what, that's why we got to keep pouring all that stuff into our gardens and our dirt, because we're never letting it rest. And then you get the media scared. Some of it's legitimate, some of it's just media hype. Turn off the television, okay? It all blends together. But then what? Oh yeah, there's these chemicals in the food, and this, it's going to stunt my growth or something, right? I don't have much growth to stunt. Trust in God. That's really the spiritual part of all these things. Number 5, no more than one extracurricular activity for your kids. I know, it's weird. I know. But maybe ask yourself, what is it you're trying to do? I'm all for the kid doing things they love to do. We do those things. We do those things in my family. But at some point, if I'm trying to make them a professional ballerina, a professional tuba player, and a professional football player all at once, I don't know, that normal doesn't seem to be working. Childhood stress is on the increase. In education, there's some studies coming out. Some of the highest and most elite universities are now, one in particular has actually sent out letters to schools in its area saying the whole mandatory homework, 4 hours of homework every night, it doesn't work. We think it makes sense by a word. The more work you do, the better you get, right? And they're actually starting to say, you know what they need to do is go to bed. And they'll do more work in less time. Part of this is part of our culture as well. The American, there's one, you've seen the prophetic type of things, right? Where it says, because of technology and computers, when technology and computers are starting to be big, by the year 2020, the average work week is going to be 25 hours a week because of this high efficiency that computers are going to help us. The American work weeks have just gone up. Who works 40 hours a week? And we say that's full time. We're working more than that. But in other countries, and again, there's pros and cons and there are prices to pay. But the work week is actually going down under 40 hours a week. When they vacation, a typical vacation is 1 month a year. We can barely squeeze out our 2 weeks a year, right? And even then, it takes me the first 3 days to kind of decompress. It takes me the last 3 days to kind of start ramping back up for work. So again, there's downsides to that culturally, but you understand that maybe there's something to that, right? Slowing down. Number 6, if you have a hard time, you think, I don't have a problem with this, David. Keep a log of your time use. Just for 1 week, just kind of write down, how did I spend my time? Don't fudge. TV time, computer time. How much time did you spend? Number 7, focus on people. Focus on people. When you're with someone physically, be with them emotionally. Sometimes that means turning things off. So I don't know about you, when it beeps and it buzzes and it vibrates in my pocket, it's like there's this gravity. I have to check it, and that kind of thing. So sometimes you have to turn it off and focus on who's in front of you. Number 8 ties along with that. Power off. To power up spiritually and emotionally and physically, you need to power down. Turn the stuff off. Have some resting time. Number 9, breathe deeply. There's actually psychologists wrestle with, they're not sure. Anxiety is on the rise in the U.S. Clinical level anxiety. It now outpaces depression as far as the leading cause of psychological issues or stress in life. And they're not sure, because they know there are physical symptoms to stress, shallow breathing being one of them, which when you get excited, you're breathing quickly, like you've been running a race. But both physicians and psychologists have gotten together to try to figure out, does your heart beat fast and you breathe shallow because you're stressed, or do you feel stressed because your heart beats quickly and you're breathing shallow? And what they're finding is a two-way street. That you cannot control the amount of stress you experience, but you can intentionally breathe deeply and slow down your heart rate. And in doing so, you feel less stress. Take time to breathe deeply. Number 10. Okay, get your toes out. I'm about to step on them. Are you ready? Drive slower. On this island especially, 10 miles an hour less is going to get you there about 30 seconds later. But there's something about, if you're like me, it's like, I'm just in a hurry. I'm even ahead of schedule, but I'm in a hurry. And so I move quickly and I get thinking, I'm going, if we'll slow down, pad, get margin for our time, then we won't need to hurry, number 1. And if we slow down, we don't have to worry about who we're looking out for that might catch us. We don't have to worry about the guy in front of me who's driving too slow, even though he's driving 5 miles over the speed limit. He's driving too slow for me. What if we just pulled over one lane? Find something good on the radio. See if there's some blessing that can come there. Number 11, eat slower. When's the last time you tasted your food? If you're like me, eating sometimes is just a necessary evil. If I could just hook it up to an IV, I could keep working and I could keep going and keep doing, right? There's something about that rhythm in the day. Slow down, eat slower, taste the food. Taste and see that the Lord is good if you need a biblical proof text for it. Number 12, final one. And really where all of this helps us go. There's some physical value just in and of itself. But are you spending time with God? It's not just the physical rest, but spending time with God. Now, maybe you're going, okay, I don't even know what that means, so we don't have time to cover all that. Are you spending time with God? The bottom line is, how are you spending your time? Because if we're not spending our time wisely, then we wonder, how come I'm stressed out? How come things are difficult and pressured? And for many of us, as we keep a log, what it's going to help us do is ask us the same question as this video. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, that's why I'm going to start being on the phone while I'm in the bathroom. You can save 3 hours, 3 years off your life. Now, at the same time, I want you to do the math. At the same time, understand that it's not about, okay, that's all I was doing was time with God. You need to have some of that. But I think also your time at work can be time with God. I think time with your family can also be time with God. If you're ministering and you're intentional about that. So I want to put an asterisk there by what we see. But you get the point. How are we spending our time? What if those each were dollars? This is how many hours you get in your life. What if each of them were dollars? And at the end of every 24-hour period, it went to zero. And if you did not spend it wisely, you do not get to keep it and have it back again. But then at the next day, they give you another, this many, $24,000, and you have to spend that. How are you going to spend that time? Granted, we're going to talk about other times where we need to get busier with God's Word. But even that, even with church, I think sometimes you don't have time to go out and be Christians because you're always in church. But to slow down, to find the rhythm that God has kind of put in place for our lives. And our health will be better, our relationships will be better, our stress level goes down, and we'll have more time for what God puts in our lives. Some of us say, oh, if you just have 1 more hour in a day. Except that God is the creator of time. Maybe He gave us the exact right number of hours in a day. Time is sort of like storage. Have you figured that out? The more you have, the more you can fill. And it's never enough. So while it seems so small, it seems so unspiritual, doesn't it? To say, what you talk about at church, I'm slowing down in life. But I hope you can see how that's begins to branch out into every quality area of your life as a Christian, and particularly with the time that you have to hear God and hear His Word and His encouragement. But it only makes sense if you have trust, put your trust in God. Let's stand and sing our invitation song. If we can help you, pray for you, come up to the front.